the Kraft-Macmillan's inequality will state? The inequality principle, this governs this will let us know whether the given code is an instantaneous code or not, even without looking into the bit representation. So if I know the length of the individual symbols, then I can find out whether the given code word is, whether the given set of code word is an instantaneous code or not by making use of the summation and verify whether it is going to be an instantaneous code or not. So today we are going to look at another aspect of instantaneous code, which is an important characteristics, which will give you another perspective of how instantaneous codes are written. So take down this particular example. Consider the four codes listed as below. Identify the instantaneous code. And construct their individual decision trees. Consider the four codes listed as below. Identify the instantaneous codes and construct their individual decision trees. Now I am going to write the source code and source symbols and their codes.
Ma'am, decision after what, ma'am?
Decision trees. Construct their individual decision trees. Tree, T-R-E-E. Code K, code L, code M, code N. The symbols are, this is a source with 5 different symbols, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. Code K goes something like this: 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. Code L: 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Code M: 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Code N: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So how do we decide? By looking at this table, can we verify whether this is instantaneous code? One way is, we can note down what are the lengths of the individual symbols, and then we can find out by substituting the Kraft-Macmillan's inequality. If the value is arriving to be a value less than 1, then it will say that the given code is a instantaneous code. That is one way. Also, we can also verify manually also. So by looking at these 4 sets of codes, can you tell me which one out of the 4 is an instantaneous code, or which one out of the 4 is not an instantaneous code? If you let me know, because we have discussed this in the previous class also with an example. So I want you to recognize the instantaneous code among these 4. Yes. Verify. What do you mean by instantaneous code? It should satisfy the prefix property. That means none of the code word
KLN, ma'am.
should be the beginning should be present at the beginning of the another code word. Yanjare, you are saying
KL and N are instantaneous.
KL
and N
and N
are instantaneous.
Okay. By verifying the prefix property, you can say that the K is instantaneous. You are saying L is also instantaneous. Let us see to that. Code N is instantaneous. Okay. But
No, ma'am. L are not instantaneous.
L is not instantaneous.
L and M.
L and M. So you can visually see this and then you can verify. So what I have asked, to identify the instantaneous, whether the given codes are instantaneous or not, the identification has been done. Now we will construct the decision tree. So whenever we are constructing a decision tree, that means the decision trees are mostly used whenever we are going for the reconstruction part. So we need to observe this decision tree properly to know the characteristics of the instantaneous code. So let me write one code one by one. Okay. So first I am going to consider the decision tree for decision tree. Let me start off with N, code word N, 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1 0 1 1 1. Okay, this is the code given to us. Code N. Now I am writing the decision tree. How to write the decision tree is, we need to start off with an initial state called as yes. This is my initial state where the source is capable of producing two code alphabets, that is 1 or a 0. So from the source, yes, I can split into two paths. One is with a 1, the other one is with a, one is with a 0, the other one with a 1. So I am not having any code word here. So the first bit is 1, first bit is 0. Okay, so the next bit is also 0. So what I am going to do is, I am going to split again at 0 as 0 and 1. Now, if you look at this, starting from the source, if you are going to trace back, 0 0 is a code, therefore this particular branch is going to give me S1. The particular branch, after I trace 0 0 path, I am going to obtain a symbol called as S1. Then coming to this part, that is 0 1. 0 1 is also another symbol. So I can terminate here. You can see over there, we can terminate there. There are only two codes starting from 0. One is 0 0, the other one is 0 1. So this particular branch is corresponding to symbol S2. Coming to the other side, where all other codes are 1 1 1 1, I can split this again into 0 and 1. 1 0, I have a code, and this particular branch will now be denoted as S3. S3. 1 1, there is no code. Again I need to split here as 0 and 1. See here, 1 1 0 is a code. So therefore this branch is going to give me S4. Okay. And then 1 1 1 is the last code, last symbol representation as S5. So this is what we call it as a decision tree. Now what is this decision tree? It is an representation of the code words starting from the source and to represent the individual symbols wherever we are going to obtain the tracing of the bits. So you see here, all the symbols here are at the end of branches. They are located at the end of branches in this case. So we will conclude something later. So please observe this, note this down, write it now itself. Please do not skip this part. No, make a note of this in your notebook. We will go to the next code. By then I will write it over here. I am writing code M now. Copy this decision tree by then. code M goes something like this: 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Ready? Shall we write the decision tree for M? So, I hope you have noted this down. It is this one. We will go to the decision tree of M. So, similar to how I wrote in the previous case, now I am also going to start off with the source called as S. From here, there are two possible outputs. One is 0, the other one is 1. Okay. So from 0, I have 0, 1. So I am going to split it all over again. Again a 0, 1. But if you see here, 0, there is no 0, 0 combination, but there is 0, 1 combination of symbol S2. Where is symbol S1? Symbol S1 is only with at the end of 0. So this is the point where S1 is present. Yes or no? Correct? Did I write it properly? At the end of 0 representation, I have the symbol S1 coming out, and at the end of 0, 1 representation, I have symbol S2. Then the next one is 0, 1. Again, I need to split over here. This is 0 and a 1. So 0, 1, 1 is the third symbol, and which is represented as S3. Okay. And then coming to the S4, there is 1 already. I am going to split again, 0 and a 1. So 1, 1 is not a code word. Again I am going to split as 0 and 1. At the end of 1, 1, 0, I have S4. At the end of 1, 1, 1, I have S5. Okay. So this is the decision tree for M, code word set M. So if you observe here, unlike the previous case, the symbols are not located at the end terminal, or they are not present at the branch, but rather some of these symbols are present at the nodal points, or the decision making points. We call them as decision making points, because at this point is where I am going to decide whether I need to go to 0 or 1. So these are the node points. So instead of being present at the end of the branch, they are present at the node of the decision tree. So therefore, you please make a note of this. This is the representation for the code M. Then let me write the code word set called as L. 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Sorry, 0, 0, 1, 0. This is 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay, now we will write the decision tree of L. Starting from the source, yes, I am going to split into two parts, that is 0 and a 1. As soon as I get a 0, it is symbol S1 here. Okay, then from 0 I need to split into 0 and a 1 again. At the end of 0, 1, I have symbol S2. Then at S2 I can still split, and at 0 I am going to split 0, 1. So here there is not necessary to split because the second bit is 0. So it is 0, 0. I am splitting here. So you can see here at the end of 0, 0, 1 I have symbol S3. Then from here I can again split it into 0 and a 1. 0, 0, 1, 0 is symbol S4. 0, 0, 1, 1 is the fifth symbol. So in this case also we have the some of these symbols are located at the nodes of the decision tree. That is, symbol S1 and S3 are present at the nodes of the decision tree. So please make a note of this. I'm going to consider the code word set called as K, which is 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. So the decision tree for code K, initial state yes, I'm going to split it into two parts, 0 and a 1. So 0 is a code word, at the end of 0 there is a code word called S1. Then again there is at the 1, I'm going to split to 0 and a 1, 0 and a 1. So at the end of 1, 0 I have the symbol S2. This is S2. Then again I need to split at 1, 1 and a 0. So that at the end of 1, 1, 0 I have the third symbol called S3. Then again I am going to split into 0 and 1. At the end of 1, 1, 1, 0 I have S4, and 1, 1, 1, 1 I have S5. So here if you keenly observe the decision tree, all the symbols are again present at the end of branch. And the decision tree is also very elegant. If you look at S1, S2, S3, S4, S5 are all present at the edge of the branch, or the tip of the branch of the decision tree. So whenever there is an arrangement of the decision tree, whenever they give you a decision tree, they may not give you the table. If you have a decision tree and if all the symbols are present at the tip of the branch of the decision tree and they are not present at the nodes of the decision tree, then such a code will always be instantaneous. So the decision tree for the instantaneous code will always have the symbols present at the end of branches. Like you see here, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5 are all present at the edge of the decision tree. So this is how you can distinguish from a non-instantaneous and an instantaneous tree. So why this is helpful is sometimes your table tabulation will not be given because it is easier to represent all the code words in the form of a decision tree rather than putting it on a table. So as we know, I think we have already taken an example and have seen how to decode the given sequence by making use of this table. You can try it out yourself by taking a random bit stream and then try to decode using all the 4 different code words. You can check it out. Okay, so now we will see, we are going to look at, whenever we are going to construct the instantaneous code, we will have to take care of the prefix property, and we also need to follow something which is having similar to this decision tree, so that it will be easier even for the designer to design such a decision tree rather than going with a complex one. Because to look at it also, it is very simple and it is easier to construct. Now, whenever we are going to assign the bits over here to the individual symbols, we need to take care of, we need to measure 2 important things, because the assignment of the bits, whenever you are going to arrange S1, S2, S3 and S4, the arrangement of the bits or the symbols that are coming out are done in such a way that they will always be in the descending order of the probabilities. That means whenever I say S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, so on, the symbols will be so arranged that the S1 probability will be greater than S2, greater than S3, greater than S4, like this. So we are going to arrange the symbols in a decreasing order of the probability because of the reason that we know that whenever there is the probability of occurrence of an event is larger, then the information content within it is very less. If P is larger, then I will be very less. If P is less, I will be large. So what we do, we are going to prioritize the symbols and then we are going to assign the code length or a code word for the given symbol depending on the probability. So this assignment of bits, looking at the probability of appearance of the symbols, is done by making use of different types of algorithms and coding procedures, which are something like we call them as noisy algorithm or noiseless algorithm, like Shannon-Fano or Shannon's encoding theorem. We have Huffman, adaptive Huffman, so on and so forth. So we are going to assign the bits or the code words to the symbols depending on the probability of their appearance. So even before we could go to this, we need to ensure we need to measure two properties or two important parameters for the code assignment, that is code efficiency and code redundancy. Whenever after assigning also you can measure these two parameters. This is called as code efficiency and code redundancy. So every code that you construct will have this parameter. One is code efficiency, the other one is code redundancy. So even before we could go to this, we need to understand one of the important parameters here, that is average length of the code. Average length of the code. So whenever we are going to calculate the LI, the length that is assigned, it always depends on the probability of the symbol existence. That is, Li is equal to log 2 base 2 of 1 over Pi. So this is the normal standard way of finding the length of the particular symbol that is emitted out of the source. If I have q such symbols that are emitted out of the source, then the average length of the code is given by letter L, capital letter L, which is summation I running from 1 to q number of symbols Pi into Li. We are going to find out the average length of the code by measuring this particular parameter, which will give us an idea about how many bits are assigned per message symbol. How many bits are assigned per message symbol. So what are the variables here? What are the terms that are present inside this? Pi is the probability of symbol. Probability of message symbol. Li is the length of the code word are given to the ith symbol. Length of the code word assigned to the ith code word, or the length of the code words in bits is represented as Li. So whenever we are going to find out the average length of a given particular source, this average length L will always be greater than the entropy of the system. It is Hs for, this is for binary source. If it is not a binary source, then L will always be greater than the representation for the other type of source is HR of S. That means the radix or the number of code alphabets, if they are present If they are greater than 2, that means it could be 3 or 4. In that case, H of S is replaced with HR of S. This is for R array code. R array code, where the code words can be, when R is equal to 3, it is 0, 1, 2. This is R is equal to 3 case. If R is equal to 4, then the code words, the code alphabets are 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. So, how to find out the code efficiency? What is this code efficiency? Let us see here. And the relation between RHS and HR of S, it is given by H suffix R of S is equal to H of S divided by log 2 base 2 of R. Log 2 base 2 of R, where H of S is measured in terms of bits per symbol and HR of S is represented using units per symbol. So what is this code efficiency? Let us see now. The definition of the code efficiency is represented. The code efficiency is represented as eta suffix C. Code efficiency is represented as eta suffix C, which is equal to H of S divided by the average length. It is the entropy of the source. It is the ratio of entropy of the source divided by the average length. Average length of the code. So why do we have to take this ratio? Let us see here. Please try to understand. The entropy of the source is always constructed or is always evaluated keeping in the mind that the given source is a memoryless independent source. That means all the symbols that are emitted out of the given source are independent of each other and they have almost equally probabilities when they are emitted out of the given discrete source. So entropy of the source is always an ideal scenario where you are going to compare the emission of these symbols with equal probability. Whereas if you come to the practical scenario, not all the symbols are equally probable. They'll have their own probability statistics present with them. So whenever we have a different statistics given to the symbols that are emitted out of the discrete source, then the length, average length L will approach S only in a certain cases, but this will be completely different from H of S. So the relation between L and HS is actually L is far greater than H of S. So this value, the ratio of H of S to the average length will always be a value. The efficiency, the code efficiency is always less than 100%, because the value of HS is always lesser than the value of L. So therefore, this gives us an idea about the code efficiency. For this top equation is for binary codes. If it is an R array code, then HS is replaced with HR of S divided by length, average length L. This is for R array code. So if this is your code efficiency, the redundancy in the code is measured as eta NC, R of eta C, so redundancy of eta C, that is the given code, is equal to 1 minus eta C. 1 minus eta C. This will be what? This is the code redundancy. That means how much of the redundant information is present in a given code. By looking at this code redundancy is what we are going to measure. We are going to design the algorithms to reduce the amount of redundancy in the code that is assigned to the sources or the symbols that are emitted from the source, and we try to improve the average code efficiency of the given system. So these are the two main properties or two main parameters that we need to look at whenever we are constructing the codes for the given source. So if you are done with this, we will do one problem here. Take down the problem. having an alphabet, yes. Are you people ready? Shall I dictate? Please say yes or no.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. A source having an alphabet. A source having an alphabet. A source having an alphabet. Yes is equal to. Yes is equal to. Capital letter yes is equal to. Open the flower braces.
Ma'am, repeat the question, ma'am.
A source having an alphabet yes. Open the flower braces. Yes 1, yes 2, yes 3, yes 4, yes 5. Produces these symbols. Produces these symbols with respective probabilities of 1 by 2, 1 by 6, 1 by 6, 1 by 9, 1 by 18. Produce these symbols with probabilities of 1 by 2, 1 by 6, 1 by 6, 1 by 9, 1 by 18. First sub question. When these symbols are coded as in the table given below, when these symbols are coded as code T, when these symbols are coded as code T, find the efficiency and redundancy. Find code efficiency and redundancy. This is the first sub question. Second sub question. When these symbols are coded as code U, find code efficiency and redundancy. So what they have given us a source consisting of 5 symbols, okay, and they have also given us the code words for the symbols that are emitted. So I will write it over here. The code T and code U, I am writing it here, corresponding to S1, S2, S3, S4 and S5. Code T is 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. Code U is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So as we know, we have already seen these codes in the previous example itself. Both are instantaneous code. We had written the decision trees also. This was code N, this was code K. So we have already written and we have seen these two are instantaneous codes. So what we will do, we need to compare the two instantaneous code, which one is better depending on the code efficiency and code redundancy. So what we need to do is, to find out the code efficiency and code redundancy, that is eta C, I will need two parameters. One is HS, the other one is L. So I need to find the entropy of the source, I need to find the average length. To find the average length, what I need to do? I need to find first I will write the expression for HS. HS is given by summation from I is equal to 1 to Q, Pi into log 2 base 2 of 1 over Pi, until and unless if it is R value is changed, do not confuse, write it as logarithm to base 2 itself. HS is equal to summation I to Q, Pi into log 2 base 2 of 1 over Pi. Then average length is given by summation I is equal to 1 to Q, Pi into Li, where Li is length of code word Assign to each symbols. Assign to each symbols. So in the case 1, for code T, S1 has the length equal to 1 binit. S2 has the length equal to 2 binits. S3 has 3 binits length. S4 and S5 have 4 binits. Okay, so keep this in mind and then try to evaluate first entropy. Try to calculate the entropy because that is simple, that you know already. To find out the entropy and let me know. Also try to find out the average length because we have already known the length of the code words. Here L1 is equal to 1, L2 is equal to 2, L3 is equal to 3, L4 is equal to 4, L5 is equal to 4. In code U, L1 is equal to 2, L2 is equal to 2, L3 is equal to 2, L4 is equal to 3, L5 is equal to 3. So using these, first you find out for T, code T, find out what is the entropy and what is the average length and find the code efficiency and tell me. I'll give you 3 minutes. There are 4 minutes to wind up this particular class. So try to finish this. The first code at least. You need to finish at least for code T. Finding the entropy is simple. It is 1 by 2 into log 2 to base 2, 1 by 6 into log 6 to base 2 plus 1 by 6 into log 6 to base 2 plus 1 by 9 into log 2 to base log 9 to base 2. Then we have 1 by 18 into log 18 to base 2. So do that and let me know. Yes, please find out. I will ask randomly. I'll give you another 2 minutes. Done. Harshini, give me the entropy value. Harshini.
Not done yet.
Why is it taking such a long time? Kavyashri? Kavyashri? Give me the
I'm still doing, ma'am.
ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾ? Find
I'm
out
still
why
doing,
it
ma'am.
takes such a long time? Huh?
One 1.944 ma'am.
1.944.
944.
Okay, fine. Entropy is fine. Average length?
2 ma'am.
2. Okay, correct. So you will see that the L value is greater than HS, which is evident from the evaluated values. Now you find the code efficiency, eta C. It is the ratio of HS over L. So you will get 1.944 divided by 2 and give me the code efficiency. What's the ratio of 1.944 divided by 2? Directly on the
0.97.
Yes?
0.972.
0.972, that is in terms of ratio. If you multiply it by 100%, you are going to get 97 point. How much? 97 point.
97.2.
Okay. So for that, if you calculate redundancy, it will be 1 minus NC into 100%. I mean 1 minus eta C into 100%. So you are going to get around 2.7 as the percentage of redundancy. So you can see that the code efficiency is very large and the redundancy is effectively reduced whenever we are going to make use of instantaneous code. So similarly, on the similar lines, you can evaluate the code efficiency and code redundancy for the code given in the second table, that is for code U. You do that and then try to find out eta C and that is code efficiency and code redundancy. So tomorrow we will see the Shannon's code encoding algorithm and then we will also look at the Huffman if possible in tomorrow's class. Okay. So I'm going to stop it over here. We will continue the coding method in the next class. Algorithms, coding algorithms.